in the back of the head.
Why is he staying at a Holiday Inn?
Because he's out of town.
Better
He
hotels.
doesn't.
Okay, this is a whole different discussion.
There's
God
better.
damn it.
Clearly he makes money.
Listen, guys, I would argue though
Says
that
who?
a Holiday Inn Express is
He's retired.
better than a Holiday Inn.
Listen to me. Listen to me. As a consumer,
Free breakfast, free internet.
I'm not.
Dunzo. Anti-social media in general.
You
know
are.
this.
You-
not surprising.
You
You're
are just a
here.
name. No,
Right. The
I
privacy
can't even.
concerns and all that stuff. So I'm a
with
little
you.
maybe on a different
Your digital
level here,
footprint
but
melted away 10 years ago.
I respect it, dude.
Can't
You're like a
find that guy.
modern day Unabomber.
Tastes like a rye. To be
It is
honest.
a rye.
Oh, it is a rye.
Yeah. No, you're spot
Minnesota
on. Dude.
Rye.
You're in the right spot.
There we go.
You're in the right
that.
spot.
I know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. I've been doing this show for 78 episodes. I know what I'm talking about.
Episode 78, baby. All right. We are going to take a look at
I'm back.
Roknar. Use the headphones. Far North Spirits presents Roknar Minnesota Rye Whiskey, Cognac Cask Finish. That's what we're dealing with right here. Let's take a look at the back of the bottle. See if we got any tasting
It's a very
notes. Roknar, according to the back. It's
very
pronounced
fine looking
Roknar.
bottle.
A true grain to glass rye whiskey, born of grains grown by the distiller on the family farm, meticulously milled, fermented, and distilled in small batches.
It looks like the Noble Oak.
It does
It does look like Noble.
has a similar bottle shape.
Yeah.
There's a bottle of it right there, but it's still a bit different. Aged in 15-gallon oak barrels from Minnesota Cooperage and MN. It's Minnesota. Right?
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Cooperage and cognac cask finished. Okay. Yeah, let's get into it. The Noble Oak bottle is right there for those that are curious. 94 proof.
It's nice.
Nice pop.
Ooh.
You like that?
It's a little hot.
It has a nice smell.
Is it spicy?
It's a little hot.
I don't,
It has a very
I don't like
nice-
your face.
Very nice smell. Yeah, and the cork is fine. It's not, it's nothing fancy.
That's what she said. I didn't
But
get
we'll
one last
dive right into it now, Josh. We had talked about this previously.
week. Marco Polo sheet.
No, not Marco Polo sheet. No, we like to do a little aviation section
oh yeah.
on every episode. Now,
Yeah, Emily reminded me that we didn't
we did not
Yeah,
discuss
past one.
Boeing on the prior episode, yes, but let's get into
Love planes
the
Trains.
Boeing.
and automobiles.
Let's get into the Boeing
I was about to make
whistleblower.
a
John
bad
Kennedy.
joke. Yeah. Go ahead.
The whistleblower that
Yeah, Emily
committed
brought this to my
suicide.
attention and I was not familiar with it.
You've not. Okay, every episode, I feel like we're kicking off with the conspiracy theory. So there is a
Make it a
Boeing,
thing. Make
there's
it a thing.
Boeing whistleblower who
Oh, the
has
guy
been,
that ended up. Oh,
In the parking lot.
he has been
isn't that crazy?
He has been in court for the last couple of weeks
That's crazy.
in this case against
I don't know
Boeing
why I didn't hear about this guy.
in regard to their
crazy.
quality
There things
control.
going on.
He was pretty involved in that process, the quality control of Boeing for a certain time period. And now he basically is blowing the lid on the whole thing. Or
in
was.
more than one way.
Correct. Bada boom. Yeah. And so now, apparently, prior to his, I guess, final day of testimony, or one of his final days of testimony, was found having committed suicide. Gun to the head
Yeah.
is what they said.
Sure, they did.
Yipperoos.
As you can see,
Seems
he's been
like the
grounded.
boys at Boeing were getting a little worried about day 3 of his deposition or whatever. I don't know.
Don't look good, Boeing.
No, but Boeing has been in the news quite a bit aside from that. There was the jet fuel thing.
Yep.
You saw that. Jet fuel pouring out of, was it a United flight? I believe it was.
United had a lot of trouble last week.
Yeah, it's not been the best week for them.
What
And
are
those
their
are
stock- what
Boeing
are
planes.
Are they public? What's their stock prices at right now?
I think
they tanking?
Boeing on the whole is doing okay, no?
You talking about Boeing or United?
Boeing.
Well, Boeing. I mean, they make the
They're
planes.
they're down less than 1% on the day.
Yeah.
okay.
Boeing has been relatively unaffected, I think,
Yeah.
stock price wise. And I believe that has more to do with the fact that they're like the commercial airline industry for them is really only a small part of what their company really does.
Yeah,
So
they're big in
Okay.
defense.
Yeah, so basically
not
their
gonna suffer.
consumer
Yeah.
aircraft can fall out of the sky left and right, but their like defense
Interesting.
programs will basically
Interesting
take
that
care of
a,
the stock.
A company so heavy in defense just has someone who is defending, against them just disappear.
That was a
That's-
stretch.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna
they
say,
just
really
so many
had to-
ties.
I get what you.
Really
So
I get-
many ties to the
Took a few-
government, and
Sure.
just someone just
took a little while to go with you
Right,
on
right,
that.
right, yeah.
But anyway, back to this
trying
guy.
to get there.
Yeah.
This boy apparently
This
committed
boy.
suicide, unfortunately. Now,
Yeah,
rumor
suicide.
has it, according to his relatives and people that knew him, he was in great spirits leading up to this final day. There was very, very little or no signs of depression,
Mental,
or, mental
disparity.
instability. And so, the news on this is it's all very recent. So maybe more information in the coming days, but very interesting,
Very
to
odd.
say the least.
It's very odd that he would just pass away
It is
suddenly.
super hard to imagine that there isn't something nefarious at play.
That's what I was saying.
It's hard to imagine. I don't think the CEO of Boeing was in there with a pistol, but I mean, what are the odds, dude?
My man gets grounded in the parking lot, man.
What are the odds?
Yeah, very interesting.
You watch stuff like Scandal and be like, this could never happen. And then,
I mean, it
happens.
makes you.
There it is.
The
There it
question
is.
that
It
I
happens.
have, though, is even if Boeing is, I guess, found negligent of quality control, which it seems like at this stage in the game, that's they have been, right? I mean, in the court of public opinion anyway. What does it really matter to them, I guess? Was there money on the line, or what was the big thing?
shut this guy up.
Like, why kill him? What was the piece of information that he could have possessed that would have brought this whole thing down?
Well, I mean, you say they are tied to classified government,
yeah,
whatever,
but
whatever.
I think his role specifically had to do with quality assurance with like consumer
they don't want
aircraft.
that out. I mean, I'm not speaking for Boeing.
But
I
it's-
don't want to turn up.
But it's
with him.
but it's evident. it's,
Accidentally shot.
Yeah,
but it's evident, right, that their quality control has some problems.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
we know that this guy was kind of substantiating it. So the question is, I mean,
It's just very convenient for him to turn up dead while they're having problems with their quality control.
true, 100%.
Come on now, like it's
Sure.
It seems like an odd thing to kill a guy for.
I mean, just given what has already been happening.
What's
'cause
his level? Let's start
like
there.
it
Like,
feels like
where's
there's a
his-
level of like it feels like we all kind of know that there's a quality control issue at Boeing. Like
I mean,
we've-
doors
we've
are
all
falling off
recognized
planes,
that.
fuel's falling
So
out of
this
tanks.
guy basically substantiating it, I guess, from the inside is helpful to what degree, I suppose? Like, aren't they already under investigation?
Of course,
aside
yeah.
from this boy. So what is?
I don't know. Maybe he had more information that I don't
Like
know.
clear evidence, I guess, that
Yeah. Maybe.
they were in fact. I mean, maybe something that would
I need to
oust the
see.
CEO or something that I guess was a smoking
What
gun.
his
Now this is
or
also
some culpability.
So
But it
here's,
seems like the stock price doesn't care.
yeah, right.
They got those good government contracts. They ain't going away.
That's correct. Yep.
See, buddy.
See you, bro.
Godspeed.
Drive safe. Isaiah just left
Drive,
us.
don't fly.
If it's Boeing, where
be
you
all right.
going?
You don't got a Boeing car, do you?
All right. So you have no insight for us on the Boeing thing.
No, I mean, I don't know what there is to say really.
I mean,
though.
you're our aviation expert, so we expect
No,
you
I'm
to
with
track
you.
with these
I mean,
things.
I could make up a whole bunch of bullshit and just talk, but what
we
is
are.
there to say? They're
just-
not doing so hot.
He was found in a vehicle in a Holiday Inn parking lot. Oh man, this is not good.
Yeah.
It's not.
Although
good.
it does feel like if
Not
you
good.
were a professional hitman, this was your line of business, like you would do a better job than that. Because that just feels quintessential hitman. Like
I mean,
in
if
the
I was trying
car,
to,
But at the same
in the
point, if
parking
you're
lot.
a really good hitman, wouldn't you want somebody to think that maybe
I committed suicide at a Holiday Inn. Yeah.
no, but like how many
Absolutely.
people are offing themselves in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn?
I think
It
a lot
feels
of people.
like somebody knew he was staying at the Holiday Inn. They waited there for him to park. When he parked, they got out in the back of the
But
head.
why is he staying at a
They
Holiday
bailed.
Inn?
because he's out of town.
Better
He doesn't.
hotels.
Okay. This is a whole different discussion.
There's
God damn
better.
it.
He's clearly he makes money.
Listen, guys, I would argue though
Says
that
who?
a Holiday Inn Express is
He's retired.
better
Listen,
than a Holiday Inn.
Listen to me. Listen to me. As a consumer,
Free breakfast, free internet.
I'm not
Dunzo.
as a median player in the game. I'm not mad at a Holiday Inn Express, right? I know it's clean. It's a franchise. Boom, boom, boom. This guy clearly higher up though.
Sure.
Higher up enough for
Well, maybe not anymore. He doesn't still work for Boeing. He's only higher up in that he's a witness.
So you're saying he took, maybe he took a hit.
I mean, he could have been fired. He could. I mean, I don't know his backstory.
But
What was his name? Boeing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Whistleblower.
We got to know
if you just
what
Google
level
search
this
Boeing
guy
whistleblower, it'll
was
pop up.
before we kind of, make these claims. But
I mean, he was high enough up that he's being, I guess, pulled into this court case.
we've seen enough.
John Barnett.
He's not just like a random guy.
We've seen enough True Detective to know that this is probably a hit. But
Yeah. So on that note, while he's doing a little bit of research, let's give him a minute to get some intel on this.
Fact-checking Josh
I
is on the
have been rewatching True Detective season 2 this week. I got inspired. I rewatched True Detective season 1 after I finished 4.
Still-
I felt very unsatisfied. Watched season 1.
You need to get
Season
your lick
1,
back. You
dude,
need to-
still the GOAT. The best of all time.
Yeah.
People forget how hilarious season 1 is.
It's so good.
Some of Matthew McConaughey's
it's
lines
so
are
good.
so iconic and they're so funny. That season is just
There's
gosh.
so many memes about how good he was.
It really
that.
was a time and a place of just all of these perfect things coming together.
I used to see a lot of narrative about him not having range, and I was like, that's not true. And I would always say, go watch True Detective season 1.
he
He
a
puts on an
powerhouse.
awesome performance.
yeah.
He dials in and he kills it. So I don't get that.
It's very good. And the level, something that gets very clearly missing from season 4, the detective work.
They were doing detective work
in season 1.
Yeah,
the detective work, the boots on the ground stuff.
him
that's
and
being
Owen Wilson
done,
got busy as characters.
it's so extensive and it's so detailed. It's truly impressive.
It's the best buddy cop thing ever. Ever. Number one, ever. And they just get in deep to it, man.
100%. But in contrast, season 4, there's very little detective work.
They do
seemingly
one room
that's
of
going
detective
on.
work, not to knock,
You have to go back and watch season 1. It's so impressive. But season 2, so I want to get back into season 2 real fast. I've rewatched season 2. It actually holds up quite a bit better than I recall.
I don't remember detective work happening.
In season 2, there's a lot of detective work that actually takes place. It's more complicated and it's more convoluted than season 1, and that's because we have a lot more.
There's more detectives.
There are more detectives that we're tracking, and they're not all really
working
in unison quite so much. So it's harder to follow. And it's a much more bleak season. You don't have any there's no comedy relief to it. There's really very little
They tried to crash it.
There's no optimism or balance in it, right? Because in season 1, you had, Rust was kind of a funny guy. Woody Harrelson is just very charismatic and interesting. Even though they're doing dark things, there's a component to them.
I'm sorry, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson. There's a component to them that is very likable and enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it balances out the dark aspects of the show really well. Season 2 missed on that a little bit. All of the characters were pretty dark and pretty there was something about them that was
on the nose. It was very on the nose. They were let's put these two together. They're very much two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
When you look at them as characters.
Mm-hmm.
So putting them together with that it was just great, man.
Yes. And the villain in True Detective season 2 versus season 1, obviously there's a big disparity there. The season 1 villain was just incredible, perfect. And season 2 was really just kind of politicians were dying and doing weird stuff. Like, you just don't care as much about the criminal element in season 2 as you do in season 1, because it's a lot more nefarious and it's dealing with kids and like a cult and all these things, right? Like season 1 just has a much more appetizing,
they just nailed it.
Component. It's just much more interesting and compelling. Yeah. Season 2 was like it was like politicians that were caught up in all these land deals that were basically also doing weird, deviant things with each other that was like ultimately leading to certain, people killing each other off or whatever, but it was more of like a power grab kind of thing. So not as compelling of a villain, but the acting is incredible. The writing is really, really good.
Yeah, it's Colin
in season
Farrell
2 from a story perspective of like tracking all the evidence and the detective work and this and like that stuff was just all actually very, very well done. I just think overall it wasn't as successful of a season, but it's worth revisiting for anybody who hasn't watched season 2 in a while. Colin Farrell does a fantastic job. Vince Vaughn does an amazing job. Rachel McAdams does an incredible job. Like, they're all really, really knockout performances. They didn't get the respect that they deserved for that season.
I just think the story was just hard to follow for a lot of people.
It's really complex. It is. But if you watch it, if you give it another watch and you kind of pay attention to it a little bit, you can settle into it much more so. There's more threads to track with in season 2 than there are in season 1.
For sure.
So it's a little bit more, it's more to bite off, but it's worth it if you can really get into it and you don't mind it being so
complex,
dark, and sad. It's a bummer. It's a bummer throughout. Like, there's no redemption in any of the characters, start to finish. Everybody kind of just is who they are. It's a very hopeless, everybody's very hopeless.
It is very bleak and dark the entire time.
And season 1 at least came out of that at certain points. But anyway, back to this guy. Speaking of hopeless and dark and bleak.
Did we find out who this guy was, Josh?
Yeah, so apparently he's worked for Boeing for 30 years.
It's a long time.
He retired in 2017.
He retired.
And that's when he raised the whistleblower complaint in 2017.
What? Okay. All right.
The initial.
I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
But that's what did he stand to gain from blowing the whistle at this point in the game?
The blow, the blow occurred 6 years ago.
I'm with you.
4, 5, 7, more than that. 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
He worked on the 787 at a 787 assembly in Charleston.
He was an engineer.
That's what I can't exactly figure out what his job title was. But that factory raised concerns back in 2017 about metal shavings coming off bolts as they get tightened in, could potentially nick wires, and the Justice Department or the FAA issued an air directive, and Boeing cleaned the shavings and whatever it is.
Oh, this episode is off.
However, he said around that time that there is not a single aircraft that left that facility that he would that he would feel comfortable putting his name on, is what he said.
30 years though?
30 years with Boeing.
That's a long time.
And so he retired in 2017, and then after he retired is when he raised the whistleblower.
That's a long time.
Get your check.
It is. That's right. Yep.
Get your check and get out.
Yep.
All right. Well, it seems like the plot is going to thicken on that, would be my guess.
Stay tuned for that one.
I feel like more information on that will certainly
it's supposed to go to trial in June.
So this episode will air.
But he was doing stuff related to the case.
That's
was
right.
it depositions or something?
Yeah.
He was in a process of something.
That's
he
correct.
He didn't just get
no,
this didn't happen out of the blue.
No, he was going to be a witness in the trial, and he was being deposed.
Gotcha. Great. There it
which is why he was there, staying in a Holiday Inn.
Yeah. So
it was just so much for him that he killed himself in the Holiday Inn parking lot.
Yeah.
So the article also says that his family states that let me just see here. Quote, he was in very good spirits and really looked forward to putting this phase of his life behind him and moving on, the attorneys said. We didn't see any indication that he would take his own life. No one can believe it. However, his family said that he was suffering from PTSD and anxiety attacks, and that the hostile work environment at Boeing led to his death.
Were there any new purchases by the family?
Couldn't tell you that.
I feel like
Listen.
it's still suspect. All right.
Very sus. Very sus.
We'll move on. We'll do something fun.
We'll get away
before
from
we,
that before the
before we
power cuts off.
dive into something more serious.
Mysteriously.
Jurassic World, Jurassic Park sequel, fast tracked. Basically, there is a new series
It makes money.
that is incoming very fast, mind you. July 2nd, 2025 is the date for this new Jurassic Park movie, which is super, super quick.
Because we're in what, March 2024?
Yes, sir.
They got to film.
So this is like a year and a couple of months out. It's hard to imagine that they land that.
And I don't even know what they're going to do. They've done everything.
But the one of the original screenwriters is back. I believe the last Jurassic Park that he was associated with was The Lost World. David Cope or whatever. But yeah, he's involved. And I think the last rumor that I read today is that Scarlett Johansson is being pursued
saw that today. Yeah.
For the main character, I suppose, or the lead. I don't know. Interesting. I feel like they could take some time
to see
off.
her back and some stuff.
She should chill. No offense to her. She should chill. I think
those Marvel checks.
She should take some time off.
I think she should still do it I think she should still be in front of the camera while she still has some young appeal.
I think she needs to, travel the world a little bit.
I think she got a lot of money.
I know. Take some time off. Take a vacation.
I would just
appreciate. I
don't know, because when you leave the public eye, as far as like cinema, young, and then try to come back, and then the narrative is that you look old.
No, she takes a little bit of time off. She comes back. She does some weird stuff. She does a couple of A24 films.
There you go.
She redeems herself. She kind of I think she got a little too pop culture. Like she was too much.
Marvel.
She was too mainstream. So you take your mainstream checks, you dip out for a while.
She's still attached to Marvel too. Like she's supposed to be
That's what I'm saying.
Producing something for them. And then she won the lawsuit with them.
But hey,
so
she's gonna be in whatever the Jurassic sequel is called. I don't know whether it's called Jurassic World or Jurassic Park or
Does
Jurassic
she put Colin Jost in
something. I have no idea.
She has to. He's got to get a better job.
Who?
Colin
Jost.
From SNL.
SNL.
He can't. How much money does he make from that?
He is. I guarantee you, he is
can't be that
quite
funny.
satisfied.
He can't make that much money that you book Scarlett Johansson.
He's happy.
I mean, he's happy.
I don't think she cares though. I don't know, dude. I mean,
who's to come up?
There are all different kinds of people out there, and as far as what their concerns are financially, it's all over the map. But my sense is that Scarlett Johansson, she like money is not a thing. It's not like they don't think about it. She's not worried about it. She's dialed in. She's got it. And
it's not Rihanna and A$AP Rocky.
He's fine. Yeah. He's taking care of himself. He's got plenty of money to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Like neither of them are ever going to be in a situation where it's like,
who's going to pay the light bill?
Who's paying for this?
Yeah.
Like they're both fine.
Yeah. It's more like who's going to drive today?
I mean, unless one of them is like a very chaotic financial liability, like
Amber Heard.
No, like a Nicolas Cage or something.
Oh yeah,
where you're buying
crazy.
like T-Rex skulls and shit. Like
I mean,
you go wild.
I'm sorry,
but neither of them seem that way.
I see that as an investment.
They both seem pretty like dialed in.
You can always sell that to a museum.
I'm pretty confident that Nicolas Cage lost all of his money
on that T-Rex skull.
No, he owned like way too many properties. He bought way too many weird things. It's very well documented, and he was like bankrupt for quite a while.
But isn't it interesting that he's such a compelling type of person? Because
chaotic people oftentimes are compelling.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
A-hole.
Yeah. There you go.
There's a lot of people out there that just
Robert
do
Downey,
weird things.
Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson.
So it looks like it's pretty widely reported here. So many sources have this number, so I'm going to take it as fact. $25,000 an episode for Saturday Night Live for certain cast members, and then 15 for the rest. So
that's not bad.
It looks like
that's not bad.
It looks like Jost is making about 25 grand. So about $500,000 a year, depending on the number.
That's a good living wage.
Dude, he's fine.
I wish I was making 25
He's
grand to do
fine.
this.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Shit, I'll take $500.
Yeah,
He's-
right. Yep.
He's
Fraction.
fine.
Yeah.
And she's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be okay.
All right. House passes bill that
TikTok.
bans
They're getting TikTok out of
unless
here.
ByteDance sells.
Yep.
Now, I think if we're going to be honest about this conversation, I don't think that the bill specifically calls out or mentions TikTok. I don't believe. I think that it speaks more to like basically like the logistics of the app, how it is like basically that it's owned by a company that is in China and being distributed here while we can't distribute apps in China or
Yes,
whatever.
because
like,
that
I
is a
think
Chinese company.
I think the structuring of it has more to do with that. Like it could apply to other things beyond TikTok. But TikTok obviously is the most notable
little
app that's caught up in this.
insight to it just because who I am.
Because you voted on it?
Yeah. I was there when they wrote the bill.
Tell us. Educate us.
So because because TikTok is owned by a Chinese government
Yes.
A Chinese company.
company.
So
they see that
to clarify, ByteDance is the company that owns
Yes,
TikTok.
ByteDance.
Now there are people, if I believe this is right, but there are people that are on the ByteDance board that basically is the Chinese government. That the Chinese government has board seats at ByteDance.
Yes. So
We
the
can look this up and confirm.
American government's concern is that basically that ByteDance is a company that's in China, and that the Chinese government basically has an overseer stance of everything that comes out of China.
Yes.
And then the US government is looking at that like, well, if that's the case, TikTok is basically a surveillance application
yeah.
for the Chinese government at any time that they feel they just want to press the button.
Correct.
And the US is like, no, we can't have that. So now we're at a stance where they're like, ByteDance is, you need to sell it.
Yes.
And the US is applying pressure and saying, basically, you need to sell it, but you need to sell it to someone who doesn't own it in China.
Yes, if you want to be able to, if you want to continue distributing it in the United States,
you want TikTok to
you
live,
basically have
get
to-
it out of China.
You have to basically divest the
Which is
company
kind of,
and
very
transfer the
US,
ownership of
but
it. Well, I think one of the big pieces here is that the way that TikTok is, accessible to the U.S. population,
yeah.
we are not able to provide an app to the Chinese population in a similar
It's not the
fashion.
same way. Yeah.
Right? Like that
That's a good
road
point,
does not
yeah.
go both ways. So we can't create something and distribute it to China in the way that TikTok has been created and distributed to us.
What is it? 170 million users? That's 170 million cameras at any given time to the Chinese government in America. And that's what they fear. That's the fear component.
So the bill is called HR 7521 is called
HR.
House rule is called Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
The text of the bill does specifically call out TikTok. Section 2, subsection G, which is definitions 3-A. The term foreign adversary controlled applications means a website, desktop application, mobile application, or augmented or immersive technology application that is operated directly or indirectly, including through a patent company, subsidiary, affiliate, by any of the following: ByteDance Limited, TikTok, a subsidiary or a successor of an entity listed, or an entity owned and controlled directly or indirectly by an entity of those, or B, a covered company that is controlled by a foreign adversary and that is determined by the president to present a significant threat to the national security.
There's a major
Great.
doubt that this doesn't pass in the Senate. And I think, a few stances on that. I have a concern that it won't pass in the Senate because I'm like, it's all kind of spelled out that at any moment they could say, cameras on, boop, and take access to 170 million cameras in the US. But then I'm also like, why do y'all care so much? Like, what are they going to see? Me dancing?
I think it has a lot less. I think it has a
They're not
lot
gonna
less to
see
do
anything.
with cameras, and I think it has a lot more to do with information collection as
That
it
too,
relates
yeah.
to,
and interference.
correct,
Yeah.
100%. So basically, they have the ability to, through the algorithm, like sway popular opinion
Yes,
or perspectives.
yes,
They
very
can
much so.
downplay or highlight various aspects of an election process or a story or whatever, right? Like there's the ability to manipulate the populace at scale through
Awesome
TikTok
articulation of that. Yeah.
that is, I mean, relatively unseen,
Yeah.
right? I mean, up until the last couple of years. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that Facebook or Instagram had some flavors
do the
of
same
this,
thing, yeah.
but they're U.S. companies, and I do think that there is something just inherent about the TikTok algorithm that is a little bit more, like, nefarious isn't the right way, but because it seems to learn about you and understand you and provide you information that it thinks that you want, it just seems very easy for something like that to begin subliminally, like, altering, you know what I mean? Like the messaging or the content that you're receiving in a way that
To sway you in a,
yeah,
certain way.
it could be programmed to. Like, there's something about it that does feel a little bit out of control. I get that that sense about TikTok in particular, as
I
opposed
see
to
it. Absolutely,
I
I
don't know,
see it.
Instagram or Facebook, which I think they're all trying to do the same thing more or less.
I think the argument, though, is the reason that they're trying to do it. You know, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Yes, their motives are seemingly a little bit more transparent in the sense that it's mostly ad driven, right?
Revenue,
Like they're just
yeah.
trying to make cash, and they're just going to serve you ads for the most part, or they're going to try to push you in a direction where that
They
advertising
just want you to buy the
is
new iRobot
optimized,
vacuum.
right? Whereas
versus-
TikTok could be
The
manipulating
rocket ship decanter.
different things.
Yeah, I will get tons of ads tomorrow after the algorithm digests. And tomorrow I'll see nothing but whiskey decanter rocket ships in my Instagram ads
right.
tomorrow because my phone is always
Been talking about
listening,
it.
right? Check last episode.
So you think that the TikTok ban doesn't go through? You think the Senate
I don't
kicks
think-
it back?
No.
The reason I don't think also the reason though is one of those like crazy things for me. I had this conversation yesterday with someone that and I don't want, we don't need to go too political here, but when the prior president was in office, he very vocally supported a ban on TikTok and signed an executive action stating it.
Yeah.
That was declared unconstitutional. So then it was changed that it had to be sold or the data had to be stored in the US, and that's what
'cause you couldn't
survived,
buy
right?
TikTok, yeah.
So the data is now stored in the US for US customers. Okay, so we're there.
right.
So very vocal on supporting a ban on TikTok. However, now he is against a ban on TikTok
Because he wants to make TikToks.
No, because he says that if TikTok were sold, it would give more power to Facebook, and he doesn't believe that Facebook.
I think it's more that if
Does he think
I think
Facebook
it's
is gonna
more
buy
that if
it?
TikTok no longer exists.
Sure,
If TikTok
Yes.
no longer exists or
Yes,
is banned,
yes, not if
then
it's sold,
basically
right.
Facebook becomes the dominant player again in the social media space. But I think what does get a little bit of like, I think there's some misconstrued, I don't know, concepts there. I think the idea that, and again, I'm not trying to get political, I think his root,
No, do it.
the root thing that he was trying to get at
Get
was
political.
that it needs to be sold to a company other than ByteDance so that it can continue to operate in the United States because Facebook needs
A competitor.
competition. I think that's more the core concept
Because
of like,
then
we
Facebook
don't
becomes a
we
monopoly.
don't want to get
and
rid of it. We want to force the sale of it is I think more so the messaging, but I don't know. That might have
Is
changed.
there even
Obviously, it's
a
been long
rule
time.
on monopolizing social media in the US right now?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess
Because, I mean,
a lot of companies I think that have tried to acquire things recently have had a
Have been
hard time
blocked.
doing so.
Okay, so here's Trump is focused on the ban.
Well,
Okay.
there we go.
Of
Now
course
we're
he is.
blocked.
This is from NBC News.
They're gonna
A few days ago. What is the day?
No,
2 days ago.
I understand that his messaging now is a little bit different, but I think what his messaging was originally was that, hey, we just need to get them to sell this. I think that was his big push, not to block it, but to sell it.
I see. Understood.
I think that's what I'm saying is I think that was his original like angle, and I think that now I think that either that is shifted or, and I don't know what that reason is, but I think now that has changed a little bit, whether that be him or like messaging being, I don't know, twisted in certain ways. I'm not really sure. I've not heard him speak on it directly, but I think that was the original concept. Because wasn't it like Microsoft or somebody in the market for it, or somebody was potentially going to buy it?
That's an interesting
under that
buyer because
administration?
they don't have any substantial social media in the market.
There were a couple of different people that were like kind of floated during that administration that were potentially in the running to purchase it.
I also saw
think.
like an infographic that TikTok is all like it's still at the bottom. It's still at the bottom. This moth has got to go. Of like social media.
I can't imagine that's true. Maybe it is.
the executive order was to ban it. I'm reading the executive order.
From Biden.
From Trump.
From Trump.
Accordingly, I hereby order the following actions shall be prohibited within 45 days after the date of this order to extend blah, blah, blah,
But
blah,
I
blah,
get
blah, blah.
I get that. But what I'm saying is I think his messaging at
His
the time
reasoning.
was that he wanted to force the sale of it.
I see. Understood.
I think all of this is to force the sale of TikTok.
So just have
I don't-
Elon buy it.
I don't think anybody wants to
Just let
actually
Elon buy
ban
it.
it, though, is my
Sure.
point. I
Let
think
him ruin it.
So
all of
getting-
this is to force it so that it becomes a US-based company.
Getting back to my frustration here, initially there was this big push to ban it in order to create a sale maybe
Correct,
originally.
yeah.
Go off,
And
Josh.
now there's
Go off.
a sale with threat of banning, and he was very for it then. He's very against it now. And his words now are he could not back banning the app because doing so would help rival Facebook, which he called, quote, the enemy of
Yes.
the people.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing here is this and the border bill that was just axed in the Senate
Go off, Josh.
that
Go
was
off.
written by a Republican senator
Keep going.
that was widely supported by the Republican senators and the Democratic senators. And then Trump got involved and went, I don't like this bill because it makes my opponent look good because he says he supports it. Vote against it. And then they all voted against it. This bill that they all widely supported. So he's doing the same thing again, where he widely supported this action 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And is now going, no, it's terrible because
I hope you guys are
Whatever
listening.
reason.
We're giving you unbiased
Dude,
points.
it's political.
in-
It's
Right.
political
to me.
chaos,
Yes.
which we fully
All we
understand
do
and
is
agree with.
point out
But-
the contradictions.
So
That's
here's the
it.
question: Do you? Or I'll adjust my question. Do
Yeah.
you think, or are you in favor of a ban, or are you in favor of a sale, or are you in favor of nothing at all?
I'm in favor of a sale.
So you want to see it
I'm-
sold?
I'm in favor of a ban if it continues to be operated by
ByteDance.
ByteDance.
Yeah.
If they continue to operate it.
I would prefer a
Sell
sale.
You're saying sell ByteDance. Don't
no,
sell.
sell TikTok.
No, TikTok has to be. ByteDance is a Chinese company. That's not going
Can't
anywhere.
they just move to
They
like
have to
Montana?
sell TikTok or get rid of TikTok if they want it to continue to operate in the United States.
Right.
They have
So
to
just move
get
to
rid
the
of it.
United States and operate.
I guess they could potentially do that.
Just do that.
But they would have to basically. I
then
don't.
you
I
become
don't know the
Well,
logistics
they're
of whether or
already
not the
they're
sales
already
are-
state.
operating somewhere. They're already not operating in China. Like TikTok
Yes.
doesn't exist at all in China.
The board.
Those people, yeah.
The board
Right.
I'm sorry, I
contains
don't mean to
people
say those
from
people.
the Chinese government.
When I said those people, I meant the board.
Let them in movies. Put them on the board.
I'm not a person that can say those people. I'm sorry.
Anyway, right. So, yeah, I support a ban under the current circumstances.
Yeah.
If the circumstances change, that's fine. Personally, I'm very anti-social media in general. You know
are.
this.
You-
Not surprising.
You
It's
are
good
just
to
a
hear.
name. No, I
Right. The
I can't
privacy
even.
concerns and all that stuff. So
I'm
I'm a
with
little
you.
maybe on a different
Your digital
level here,
footprint
but-
melted away 10 years ago.
I respect it, dude.
Can't
You're like
find
a
that guy.
modern day Unabomber.
All right. Well, that was
Well,
it.
Isaiah got out what he could.
That was it. Anywho, I don't know, man.
Can you pass that bottle over,
I
please?
think.
Did you get any of this to begin with?
No.
Oh,
You didn't get
all right.
none?
No,
No.
let him get into it. All right, we're gonna move on from this topic. I think we've covered the TikTok thing pretty well. It's tough to say. I don't think TikTok is going anywhere.
Next week's guest is.
It looks like. Go ahead.
whoever buys TikTok.
Got it.
I
Looks
think
like
TikTok is-
support is there in the Senate. Just reading through these articles, despite Trump's opposition to it, it looks like senators are generally
They're gonna
on board with this.
They'll
but
have to do something. They'll have to do something.
think
And I
so?
think they're gonna sell it. It's really hard to imagine that they. I mean, I guess they could. I mean, unless China was like, "Listen, we got the info we needed to get, and we
All right, deuces.
moved
We don't
moved
care
the chess
anymore."
pieces that we
Yeah.
needed to move." Like the operation of TikTok is done. Like it's completed. You guys can get rid of it. We don't care.
We've gotten everything we saw. We saw
But
your American dance moves.
even if that was the case, like even if that was their stance, they might as well sell it. They might as well just sell it to an American company. What do they care? Like
I also think like 170 million like people isn't like how many people live in America? Like please.
323 million.
I think
Okay, all right. I mean,
the damage
I don't think this is gonna do that much damage
no.
if China is like activate whatever protocol that
I
turns
think
on.
I think you're
I look at it from a security standpoint.
I think you're way off on
As far as the users?
method. No, I think you're way off on the methodology
of what they want to do with it.
behind what China would be potentially trying to do or implement with TikTok. I don't think that they care about cameras. I don't think that they care about microphones. I don't think that that's what's relevant to them. I think it's data collection on each person.
Oh yeah, that too.
And I think that it's
yeah,
and I think that it's manipulation
absolutely.
through the algorithm. I think training the algorithm is what matters. So, and I believe that TikTok is, if it were an operation or something, I think it's successful. I think it's completed. I think they're done. From a strategic standpoint. And I think that they might as well sell it. I don't think that there's anything else to gain from it. I mean, at this point, I think you're just collecting money. I think the manipulation you've wanted to create or, enact, I think you've done. And I think the information that you've wanted to gather, you've gathered at this stage. Like, I can't imagine the amount of information that TikTok has pulled and the effectiveness of the algorithm at this stage in the game is just so far
And then I
away.
learned that they don't even really pay out. Like people who have like millions of followers don't even really get
I don't know.
a substantial even if you are a professional TikToker with millions
Which
of
is
followers.
just, to me, again, coming from my anti-social media kind of views, the term professional TikToker
It's a real
is
thing.
a real thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you made it up. That's crazy to me. If you'd have said that to me 6 years ago, I would have been like, what's happening here?
Why is that your
Right?
full-time
Why is
job?
that a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had YouTube content creators for a long time that have been very committed and regular.
Sure.
Almost 20 years. At this
Yeah,
point.
it's been a long time.
The
It's
play
still
though,
just incredible to
I
me.
think the play with the YouTube thing though, and this has been making more sense to me as of late, is that it's like a television network. Like there are people that
Yes.
use YouTube for all of their content.
There's
is
YouTube
distributed
TV.
through that,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
And
Absolutely.
YouTube TV obviously
Yeah,
is a product
absolutely.
now, but I think YouTube was this weird thing on the internet for a long time where people just like had videos. I think that it has transitioned though
Got any
in the
grapes?
last several years into
Yes.
TV, like into a television network,
Yeah.
really,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anybody that's on
Yeah.
there creating content at scale,
I feel like I'm
probably
one of those
deserves to
people.
get
I don't
paid for
really
it.
watch I watch what I watch. I'm very intentful
Mm-hmm.
on the things that I view. But honestly, like during the day when I'm working at my desk, it's YouTube.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
YouTube.
Do you find yourself watching shorter form or longer form
Long form.
videos? Okay. Because I was reading about how the age of TikTok has kind of shortened people. And we have this feel like the older generation has this discussion or this argument every 15 years, the youth of America being ruined by whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and so either way, this article I was reading, this article that I was reading was talking about TikTok's short form is kind of making people prefer shorter YouTube videos, and they've started doing real, shorts, YouTube shorts, and Threads has come around, and they do, the things, and everybody is moving to these short form.
I think you
can consume the content way faster, and you can hit all of these accounts way faster. So I think from like a numbers perspective, I think that shorts and reels and all those things are more lucrative. Whereas long form content, like I'm just investing in this one channel, like I'm honing in on like this one
because it has specific information that I'm consuming.
And my exposure to other things is eliminated.
Yeah.
And there is a negative correlation, I think, from a like financial perspective when that happens. Like if I invest my hour with one thing, then my ability to be exposed to all this other stuff is shut off. So, if you're scrolling through TikTok or Instagram and you're just looking at reels or whatever, and you're just going through every 15 seconds something new, like think of the amount of ads or the amount of paid things that you're being subjected to in that time, in that 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Versus watching a Doug DeMuro review for 45
or Bad Guys and Bourbon.
Your exposure to these other things,
or two in 1 week.
Exactly.
Green screen. I don't have the same.
The financial incentive.
You're just gonna be like your arm is gonna be slightly off, like Princess whatever her name is.
I changed my shirt, and you didn't. For those paying attention, the financial incentive is.
I asked him.
That's why he went upstairs.
You heard me ask him. I got a sweatshirt in the car.
I wanted to see if you would notice. The financial incentive is really behind, I think, short form content.
Yeah, certainly. I was talking more people's preference also, not specifically from a monetary or from a.
I think that is what has created the short form content.
Yes.
Though.
Yeah. I see that.
I think that people, generally speaking, like humans in general, like to pull out.
It's easy.
More information, or like to sit with something. I think from a monetization standpoint, I think these companies have figured out, well, if you give them bite-sized things and we force feed them content at a higher rate, it's more lucrative for us.
You can force more things into the algorithm.
I think now it's what we all, like I think we're all exposed to it to such a degree that it's what we're accustomed to and comfortable with now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when I don't know, I listen to a lot of long-form podcasts or, YouTube shows and things like that. And honestly, that's what I connect with the most. That's what I appreciate the most. I mean, entertainment wise, I'll roll through reels. Sure, that's fine. But those things don't have a meaningful impact.
Hear them. Oh my God.
You can get a little burnt out on that stuff.
I hate them so much. But whatever.
But in either case, moving on.
Yep.
Man, what a time with TikTok. Good grief.
Rest in peace, TikTok, or long live TikTok.
Peacemaker, season 1, not canon. Season 2 takes place after 2025 Superman. So Peacemaker is back in development.
Good for them.
You want to talk about it a little bit? I was really confused. I thought maybe you'd know the answer to this, but Peacemaker season 1 is not canon, but I couldn't find any specifics around whether or not season 2 would be canon, because they used it in reference to when it was taking place in the timeline of the new Superman movie, which makes it feel like it might be canon.
It's the only show coming back under the James Gunn umbrella.
Yeah.
So season 1 may not be canon, and then
season 2 could be.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ways to manipulate that, given, multiverse storytelling, or they could just say,
well, even the events of season 2 could just have a direct correlation to what's happening in his universe, whereas season 1 was kind of a standalone thing.
And Peacemaker, how they created it is very much in the vein of like a Deadpool.
Yeah.
Comedic and very on pun with itself. So with what's happening with the DC, I don't even know what it's called right now, DC Studios, DCEU conversion, right? They could even walk into Peacemaker as our introduction into the DC James Gunn.
Sure.
You know,
they could start introducing and setting things up.
Right. We got the whole Justice League at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So this could go anywhere and be an explanation for what's going on. So, you know, I'm always happy to see John Cena do stuff, you know, naked at the Oscars. If you saw him, you saw him. If you couldn't, you know, we understand why you couldn't. But if you
bringing the joke back, dude, take 2, man. 2 weeks in a row now.
If you saw him in Peacemaker, but you couldn't see him, I'm sorry. But this could be a very steamrolling mechanism because it already had feet for what's going to happen under James Gunn. And you know, I did an honest watch back of like Guardians and like all of that stuff that he did with Marvel. And of all of the people that were involved in the MCU, he was very, very intentful with the things that he incorporated. So if that is indicative of anything that he's going to do with Peacemaker or the, you know, DC Studios umbrella, I'm very much on board for. DC has always had the better stories and better, you know, better characters. Honestly, they just couldn't compete in the live action arena. So,
well, on that note, Batman sequel got bumped an entire year.
That sucks.
From fall 25 to 26. The reasoning behind that, supposedly, is the writer's strike. Now,
not surprising.
Kinda. I don't know.
I mean, you got a lot of projects that were sitting on people's desks while they were trying to work at Starbucks because they couldn't get jobs.
Batman, really, like they're not. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah, they're not prioritizing.
They're not prioritizing.
I don't think. I think that's layered. I don't think that they prioritize it because of what's going on with the DC studios. I don't think James Gunn wants that. Right, as much as
you think that he's at odds with Matt Reeves.
I don't think he's at odds with Matt Reeves. I just don't think it fits into his plan. Right? Like if Josh was trying to do like another
why not get
podcast,
it out before Superman?
You know what I'm saying? Why not get it out before Superman?
Yeah, why not get it out before Superman and then just
because
cut it
Superman
off?
is still going to connect to everything else.
But Matt Reeves' Batman is not connected to.
Also, Matt Reeves' Batman
Superman
lives in the.
It lives in it. Matt Reeves' Batman is not affiliated with James Gunn's canon,
and that's what I'm saying. I don't think James Gunn is you know, lack of for better words, is fucking with this whole thing. James Gunn wants everything condensed into what he's gonna.
No, I get
launch.
that, but I'm saying like if you're at DC, you're running the DC universe or whatever.
I want my own Batman.
Yeah,
I don't want
but then
your
why
Batman.
not just be like, all right, the Batman sequels, we're pushing that out. It has to come out by 2025. Get it out of here. We're done with this. Matt Reeves, you're fired. This
just
Batman
get it.
thing's
Just
over
do it.
with.
Just do it and be done with
Yeah.
it. Because the contract's already
It
signed.
seems crazy to me.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That
Yeah.
Superman, which had definitely went into writing and development way later than the Batman sequel did.
James Gunn has a hard on for Superman. I didn't tell you
how
that.
does James? But like, why is Superman getting dropped in 25 and the Batman sequel, which has been in development for the last 3 years,
Superman.
is now getting pushed to 26.
Because Superman is the trajectory into the rest of the DC universe.
No, I
Batman
understand
is
that.
not.
But you think that they're just sitting around and they're not doing anything with Batman?
Nah.
You think that they're just like biting their
Nah, I think that the trail for Batman in this amalgamation of what it is right now is very based in a ground level. Even the release of what's going to happen in the sequel, right? Is it going to be Joker? You know, I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. Clayface is supposed to be the villain.
Dude, 2026 is too far off.
In the next one, it's to throw us off and not care.
It's too far off,
right? It's purposeful. It's purposeful. By 2025, we will hear that the Batman is canceled this time next year, and that will be it because the Batman 1 came out in 2021? We won't give a shit no more. It's over.
You're saying that they're going to cancel the Batman sequel.
I don't think it's coming out. 2026, it's over.
You're saying that it comes out in 2026 and then it's over? Or you're saying that the Batman sequel never happens?
It never happens. I don't think it happens.
Are they filming Batman the sequel yet,
I
Josh?
don't think
Can
so.
we figure this out? I thought that the Batman sequel was in production.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. It gets bumped to 2026. That's 2 years. Why are we bumping a movie that takes 9 months to film 2 years out?
I don't disagree. I don't even think that the writer's strike should have impacted it to that degree.
I don't think James Gunn wants anything to do with it.
This is from, let's see, IMDb. This is from last year, June 1st of last year, that the filming has been bumped to this year. So there's good indication that it hasn't started filming
They
yet.
haven't even started. No, it's a wrap. That movie's never coming out.
The Batman sequel instead will not go before cameras until at least March of next year, with the delay likely being caused by the writer's strike.
But it's March now.
It is March. Sure. It is
What's
March
Robbie
now.
Pat doing? Where's his get a location on him?
He's about to do a Disney movie, man. It's a wrap on him. If it starts filming, I'll take 3 pickleback shots straight. If it starts. But Robert Pattinson will be a vampire in a Disney movie.
January 17th, according to a new report from World of Real and News, the sequel to the hit Batman film is set to begin production in August.
It's over. And don't get me wrong, from what I'm hearing, I am a Batman reader. I'm a Batman fan, Batman advocate, enthusiast. I don't think James Gunn wants anything to do with what Matt Reeves got going on.
Damn.
Personally.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Just because, not because it's not good, it's just because it doesn't fit, right? Matt Reeves wants everything grounded, real Silence of the Lambs, kind of serial killer movie, Batman, depending on what the Joker's giving them.
No, I get you.
Right?
I get you.
And then Matt Reeves is like, James Gunn is like, no, like Batman lives in a universe where there are super people and he's the only unsuper person. And I want my own Batman. It just makes sense. If
Can't have two things.
You can't have it both ways.
Can't have both things.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
So
You say so.
I don't say so.
Did you see the Zack Snyder comments about Affleck and Bale? He was on the Joe Rogan show. Took a little bit of a dump on Christian Bale. Wasn't a big fan of his portrayal of the Caped Crusader.
Come
He was
on,
a big
Zach.
Affleck guy.
You can't.
He thought that Ben Affleck was the better portrayal.
That's unappreciative, right? I think The Dark Knight is the greatest Batman movie ever made, but
Zack Snyder's pretty high on himself. I don't know if you heard any of these segments from that interview, but he thinks he's
absolutely sits on a fucking iron throne.
He thinks he's
Now,
really cool.
he created a universe. Bale's Batman lives on its own, man. It just kind of, and that's
Well,
the
he's
tough.
talking like physically. He liked Ben Affleck's look.
Oh, he's got a hard on
appearance.
because he created it. He's got a hard on for Ben Affleck, which in that in the Dark Knight Returns aesthetic, it's amazing. It looks great. He stands his own amongst superpowered people. It goes back to what I was saying about James Gunn's not having a Batman in this. It's all the same. Him and Zack Snyder are.
These boys are all selfish with their
They're
toys.
all in the. They all in the same
They want
game.
their own. They want their
They
own.
want their
lore,
own,
baby.
right?
Yeah, they want their own.
But I still feel like, The Dark Knight is the best portrayal of a Batman you could ever get, because Batman that's what it is. But there's always a but when you create these adaptations, because Batman is a man who fights crime in a city that is kind of surrounded by superpowered people, but they don't fight in his city because it's ghetto.
I was going to say, who wants to go?
Nobody wants to go to Gotham. It's crazy in there.
You heard
Even
it
Superman.
here first, people got themselves.
Superman doesn't even wear his cape in there. He goes
go.
in like in a suit. Like I'm not doing this. This is great. He got crackheads. you got people in Joker face. Man, it's crazy. No, it's nuts.
All right. We're coming to the end of this one. Wrapping up
Another random.
78, right? Yeah, we're wrapping up 78 here. Okay,
yeah.
quick. Damsel on Netflix, the movie.
You watched it? I saw that.
I watched it.
In my algorithm, I'm gonna watch it.
It's very bad.
Never
Don't
mind,
watch
man.
it.
Thanks.
It's a
Thanks
waste
for
of
the warning.
time. No good. Shogun.
I have started Shogun.
I'm one episode
2
in.
episodes
I'm one episode in.
Shogun is
good.
It's Game of
good.
Thrones graphic, but not as deep, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm only one episode in. I've not really seen too much on the violence front. I mean, I guess they did cook that guy.
Oof, easy.
That was
Early.
violent.
You know what I did?
They cooked that dude in the
So what I
pot.
did was I in the Apple TV you
Yeah.
can do subtitles and you can do descriptive subtitles. I just did this descriptive and everybody's speaking English. It's crazy. I'm very racist.
All right, I'm confused.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
I mean, the show is subtitled, so descriptive
Yeah.
subtitles generally means that it like describes
It's
things
just
for
the
those
entire
that
thing
have
is
a
in
hard.
English. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wait a
What do you
minute.
mean
Is this a
it's
separate
English?
audio track
Yeah.
or is this a description?
It's
a
des-
separate
It's a
audio
description,
track.
but they're saying the subtitles in English, so I don't have to watch.
You're
the
talking
whole-
about like an audio dub.
yeah,
Got you.
yeah.
Okay,
I'm not
I was
racist. That was
confused.
a joke.
No,
But, like, yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I think there are to differentiate. I do think descriptive subtitles are a thing for people that are visually impaired.
Yes.
because it
Yes, that's what it
describes
is.
what you're looking
Yes.
at.
Right.
Courtney,
But it also-
Courtney walks in the door.
But don't you have
Right. But it
Okay.
also, if someone doesn't speak in English, if they don't speak in English, it will transcribe in English.
Because they
for
can't.
you.
Because if somebody can't see, they can't read the
Right,
subtitles.
they can't
No, I
read the
get that.
subtitles.
So you need the
Yeah.
I get
subtitles
that.
read. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree that there's two different things.
They are
So
different
I
things.
watched like half
So you're
of.
just talking with English.
Yeah,
like
I watched
audio
like
dubs. Yeah.
half of episode 2 with that on, and it was great because I was working, but I still wanted to pay attention to it because I
got
didn't
you.
have time to like watch it, and I got to hear and like oh this is what's going on. Turn on.
Interesting.
Oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So I got to hear rather than because if you're gonna watch it with the intent of watching it, you have to like.
Well, yeah, it's in Japanese.
It's in Japanese.
Yeah,
so
you gotta
sit
you gotta
down and
watch
like
it.
read the subtitles and watch
How
what's
dare-
going on.
Yeah, how dare they?
I mean, America. But I mean, for someone like me, I had to consume it
No,
when I'm in my office
Listen,
work.
I get it.
Right.
Emily's on her phone a lot while we watch TV, like scrolling through stuff, and it's like
Rewind it, go back. I get a lot of that too.
it's like it was like in Japanese. She popped up there for like 20 minutes, and she was like, "What are we watching?" Because she was like, "I have not gotten one word of this show so far," and I was like, "Well, yeah."
But it's so good.
I don't know.
It's so good.
I didn't know the extent of it being in Japanese. I heard good things. I put it on.
Nah,
Here we
man,
are,
it's
dude.
great.
But yeah, the bulk of it is in Japanese.
it's-
which is that tracks. It makes sense. I mean,
Sure.
given the concept.
Nah,
of everything,
it's dope.
where we are.
I'm
Have you
enjoying
guys
it.
watched Slow Horses on Apple TV
Those
Plus?
2 words don't even.
But I know it now.
I think
that
of
it's an
something
Apple.
totally-
It's an Apple
it's an
show.
Apple original. Yeah, it's Gary Oldman and
Yes.
Kristen Scott Thomas.
I've seen the trailer for this. I know what it is.
Yeah,
I'll let you
um,
describe
Horses
it.
like
But I've not watched it.
Slow Horses is a name for an MI5 agent who's not quite up to snuff. Usually, if you make a mistake or whatever, like one of them
disappointed.
was commuting to work and accidentally left a top secret file sitting on the train,
Oh,
and then he was relegated to this like shitty department that Gary Oldman runs. And Gary Oldman doesn't give a shit about any of them, but maybe does in his own little fun way.
I won't make that joke. I want to, but I won't.
It's a good show. I over the last 2 weeks, I've watched all 3 seasons.
Damn, I didn't realize there were so many seasons.
Very good.
3?
All right.
3, and they're set. They're all books,
Oh,
and there are
God.
7 books in the series. So the show has already been renewed for 4 and for 5.
Wow.
Good to know.
Yep,
Okay.
it's a good
All
show.
right. Very good.
Slow Horses, I think, is something else.
All right.
Maybe with the Franken
Like that
sheep.
Montana Ranch.
Yeah, that Franken sheep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Roknar before we get out of here.
I'm gonna do a little taste just to.
Have you not had it yet?
Yeah, I had a nice little.
Oh, all right. Great. Get in there.
Thanks.
Give that a sip.
It's a little
my man.
spicy. I'm just gonna taste it out and get us.
I also kind of get like a smokiness, like a caramel, like a dark
Yeah,
caramel.
I feel like this would be
I think because
really good in the winter.
I think because of the cognac,
That's what it
finish.
is.
It's a little bit on the sweeter side. Like there are some more like there's spice in there, but the notes of it are a little.
It tastes like a rye. To be
sweeter. It
honest.
is a rye.
Oh, it is a rye.
Yeah. No, you're spot
Minnesota
on.
Rye.
You're in the right spot.
There we go.
You're in the right spot.
I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this show for 78 episodes. I know what I'm talking about.
Dude. It's interesting. I'm not mad at it. It could be kind of cool in some cocktails. I think there's like some opportunities there.
Maybe on some ice.
For it to be fun.
Some cinnamon in the winter.
I don't know. Because the flavor profile of it is a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more a little more odd. I don't know if it is
very
that I would drink on a regular basis. Like, it's unique. Like I said, I think it could be fun in a cocktail somewhere.
Some coquito or
I'm really not. I'm not mad at it. Like it is good. It's interesting. It's just not. I don't know.
I don't enjoy it straight. I am enjoying it straight.
Yeah. No,
I just don't. I don't think it's meant to be enjoyed as a straight drink.
It probably would do best with a little something else in it, whether it be ice or
Some
if it's
cinnamon
in a
milk.
cocktail or something. Cinnamon milk.
Yeah, cinnamon milk.
I've never heard the term coquito before, and
I lived in New York, man. I lived in the Bronx.
I just Googled it. I mean, it looks like it might be.
Shout out to
great,
all my uptown folks in the Bronx. It's basically
yep, all the girls.
What?
Uptown girl. I have Billy Joel.
I got you.
Sorry,
I got you.
A little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it's just like a what do you call it?
It's a coconut mojito type thing.
It's losing me. What do we drink in the winter with the milk?
Eggnog.
Eggnog.
Yeah.
There we go. It's basically a
Puerto Rican eggnog.
Yes. There we go. It's a Puerto Rican eggnog. That instead of rum would probably slap.
Less than 2 years old on the bottle is what it says. Interesting. All right. That does it. 78, man. It's a good time.
Go O's.
Go O's.